So after black sanding with 320, yeah, I uncovered some areas that needed some more work, and there was some burn throughs on some edges. So I re-prepped everything and cleaned everything up and spot primed the areas that needed some repairs. I really didn't have enough primer to do the whole thing with another coat, but I don't really need another coat because this is all sanded at 320, and I can just go over it with 600 in the areas that I had a spot prime. I'll just go back 320 and then 600. It was mainly just edges and some repair areas that I found after I was black sanded to 320. I could find some spots that needed more work. That's why, you know, it's a good idea to do a couple extra shots of primer and block sanding to keep uncovering things that might show up later. So now I just gotta, everything is really ready. I just need to sand it all down again, and then it'll be ready. It'll be ready for paint. So getting pretty close now. Got the shop all cleaned up, all swept and blown out with all the dust from all the body work. Panels are all sanded to 600 grit, so they're ready for first coat of I'm going to use epoxy thin down as a sealer. That'll help with adhesion, and then I'll do the base coats and clear coat. A lot of dust, but I'll put plastic everywhere anyway, so it'll help protect it while I'm painting. But I think it came out pretty good. It's really ready for paint now. I have to go over everything with some cleaner and wipe everything down, get any dust, any residual, you know, oils or grease off of it from fingerprints, which shouldn't be because I use gloves whenever I'm handling anything anyway. But getting close to paint, so I'll have to do some more masking and mask off the window, the door openings, and the rear glass opening, and then prep everything. But you know, sanding it with 600 with a guide coat makes a big difference. You can pick up very tiny imperfections and then sand them till they're out. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Covered everything in plastic this morning because I want to do some test panel, so I can't get overspray on everything. So I want to try a couple different application techniques. The base coat's going to be just standard, you know, the way it's supposed to be. It's just a clear. I want to try a couple different scenarios. Plus I kind of wanted to see how well this color covers, which it actually covered pretty well. I mean, that's one coat over a test card, and I got one coat on all these panels. So I want to test out a couple different ideas for clear. So we'll see how it goes. Started sanding and buffing some of the small parts. Here's a piece that I haven't done yet, and you can see a little bit of orange peel, a little bit of dust in the reflection. And this is after I've sanded it by hand and buffed it by hand, mostly by hand, a little bit of a machine if I can get in there without damaging anything. So a little bit extra work, but definitely makes it a little cleaner and nicer looking. Got the Mustang all taped up. I retaped everything so we don't get any overspray or dust blowback from inside, because it's all ready for paint. I didn't do any video or take a lot of pictures, but all the small parts are done. and I've sent them back with the owner for safekeeping. The hinges are going to be needed to mount the doors, so I kept those. But all the small parts, the mirrors, the fender extensions, quarter extensions, have been painted and cleared, sanded, buffed. So they're all done. I had a little issue with this scoop, so I repainted that, re-cleared it, but it's got some runs and some dust, so I'm going to have to take some time to smooth it out, but it needed to be redone. Not quite done with the my makeshift booth. I have to get some more plastic, and then with the holidays coming up, it might be another couple weeks before I can actually spray, because I want to make sure I have 2 full days to paint and then give it a day to sit, and then clear the next day. So, but it's definitely close, and it'll be getting some color on it soon. All the parts are ready for paint. They've all been wiped down twice. Only thing I have to do in the morning is wipe it down with the tack cloth, make sure there's no dust. Got all the lights up, all plastic up. Everything's sealed up nice. So hopefully it goes pretty smooth. But I'll take my time and try to do a nice job. All the color is laid down. 3 good coats. Cover's pretty good. I took my time between each paint session to go around and check for any dust or dirt, sanded out anything that needed to be cleaned up. So tomorrow, if there's any imperfections, I can touch it up before shooting the clear coat. So far it looks pretty good. I didn't really find too much trash. I invested in a paint suit, and with all the plastic up overhead, everything, it keeps any dust from coming down. Like they say, typically the dust and imperfections come from you, from your skin, from your hair. So I think the paint suit might have helped. And your hose, dragging your hose around gets dirty, so you keep kind of wiping it down. But I think it came out pretty good. So one of the ways that I go around and double check every square inch is take a bright light and run it across the the surface, and then watch for shadows, because then you see little imperfections pop up, like right here, and just a little bit of sanding to take it down. There's something right there. That's just a little bit of dust. I gotta go back over everything with the you see, like right there, see it, that little dust nib pops out. It's a little 600, takes it right off, so that works pretty good. You gotta hold it down low at an angle. And it'll show up a lot better. Got 3 coats of clear on. I only have a couple of runs, like on the trunk lid. Got a lot of dust on the back end back here though. I think it's probably because of my air vent. It lets air in even though there's a filter on it. So let's see how it comes out after buffing. And if I have any issues, I'll just have to redo them. Had a big problem with this fender. After the first coat of clear, I tried to clean it and that didn't work. So I'm just gonna wait till it dries, sand it, and then re-clear it. Everything else came out real nice. Doors came out good. Fender came out good. Hood. Even though this is gonna get satin black on it on the top, still need to clear coat it and sand it and smooth it. Otherwise the orange peel will show through. But everything came out pretty nice. The only problem with white is any little speck of trash, if it's got color like that right there, that's going to be a problem. Unless it's in the top coat of clear, then it's going to get buffed off anyway. I mean, I made sure there was nothing there every step of the way. So if that's there now, it's because it came in on the last coat of clear. But you can only do so much. Got a little bit of runs here, no big deal. They can smooth those out. Have to address this fender. But otherwise, you know, it's pretty stressful doing this. But we'll see how it looks after I buff it. And if need be, I'll redo some panels. So for the last couple months, January and February, it's been super cold, like 10 to 15 degrees every day and night. Super dry air. So I've had huge problems with static and with dirt and debris, fibers getting caught up in the paint, the clear, and it just sticks out. So I've had multiple attempts. I've done lots of different things. I've built this booth. I've got an anti-static spray air gun that takes the static out of the panel, filters on my air hose, full containment suit for myself. It's like a clean room in there. I mean, it doesn't look clean because of the plastic, but this actually attracts the dust and holds onto it. But the issue's been, you know, very small, you know, dust particles, fiber particles. And when you spray the clear, the white came out great, the clear coats came out great, and then when I go back and look, I find all kinds of tiny dots from just debris, and I think it's being attracted to the metal because the air is so dry, and even though it's warm in the shop, the humidity level is very, very low, and it makes everything statically charged. So, you know, I've probably painted this fender at least twice with clear, and then have to resand it. You know, the other panels I've had to resand multiple times. The trunk lid probably got done 4 times just to try to get one panel, you know, done and without any blemishes. But it probably can't even pick it up on the camera. But there's, like, you can see where the pencil marks are. They're aimed at those 2 little dots. And then there's a little dot. And here's another one with a couple dots. So the problem is that, you know, in any other color, you'd never see it. It would blend in and it'd be fine. But this white, it just sticks out pretty awful. And this really needs to be a very, very good paint job. You know, there's one there. So I'll touch those up with a little dusting of, you know, the Wimbledon white. And then try re-clearing again, and hopefully between all the precautions I've been trying to do with cleanliness and wiping things down and using a tack rag, using the anti-static air blowing gun, and I'm waiting for some warmer, wetter weather, and that might help with the humidity level. So that's why it's been really slow. I haven't been doing any updates because there's nothing to update. I chalk it up to just learning how to be better at painting, and you know, get through this until all the panels are cleared and have a nice finish and no blemishes, and then I can start back on sanding and buffing, and then hopefully, you know, not screw that up. So it's been a pretty rough winter, so hopefully the spring looks better. So even though I built this booth and totally encased it in plastic with filters for air intake and exhaust fans, brand new, can't use it because it's just not airtight enough where the wind, it sucks in from all around any little cracks or crevices around the door, and it could be pulling in any debris. So I just shoot it with the clear, one coat, leave it for half an hour, leave it so the clear settles out by itself, and come back in and do that 2 more times. And so basically, you know, I don't even use the fans because I don't want any air movement. You can see I've got a ground wire that goes out to the building ground to ground it out. I got a cheap but effective anti-static gun, so that acts like a blow gun, and you blow the panel off and it reduces the static on the panel, and at the same time you blow any dust and debris on the panel into the tack rag. And again, like I said, I use a full paint suit, I use a full respirator, but literally you spray 1 coat of clear, you come back in to do the second one, and then, you know, there's some, you know, little dot, or a little, like there's a little fiber, you know, and it's in the clear coat, it's not in the color. So you know, I'm gonna touch this up with some of the white to hide that little blemish, and then let that dry and shoot it with 3 coats of clear, and hopefully it comes out better. Ready to spray first coat of clear on this one after it's already been attempted twice and resanded. I've cleaned everything, made any touch-ups, and wiped it down with a tack rag, blew it off with the anti-static gun. And I mean, it might look pretty good right now, but you have to really go over it with a really bright flashlight, which I've already done. Make sure there's absolutely no debris. The booth is quiet, there's no air movement, no fans on. Got the anti-static, you know, grounding strip. I already ran over it with the anti-static spray gun to blow it off to reduce any static. And I mean, you can generally see there's no fibers, there's no black spots from any debris. So I'm going to shoot the first coat of clear and see how it looks. Got the body shell recoated with clear. Came out a lot better this time. So this is the last piece that needed to be redone. There's a little more trash in the top than I would have expected, because I did really try hard to keep all the dust and clean it really well. But it's only on the top sides. The sides look pretty good. I had a couple blemishes, so I made sure they were going to come out before I let it sit, because it's a lot easier to get any runs out. There was like one little run here, there was like one little run there, There's a couple of blemishes that I wanted to make sure were going to come out. There was one here and then one on the side, but they smoothed down nice and there's nothing noticeable. So this is the last piece. All the other panels are done. I kept them in here to keep from getting overspray, but they're ready to be sanded and buffed, because I didn't want to start buffing anything and then risk having overspray. Plus this way here, if I get the body done first and the two doors, I can give it back to the owner and he can start doing his thing. And I'm sure he was anxious to get it back on the road or start working on assembly. So I cranked the air pressure up quite a bit, and that really helped make it smooth out a lot nicer. Something I've just kind of experimented with, and you know, I don't know, every time seems like it's the first time. So, but it came out, I think it came out pretty smooth. I mean, there's some you know, waves from the clear, but I've got some long sanding blocks that I can use to smooth it down. So now I can actually start doing something and hopefully not mess it up when I start sanding and buffing everything. So keep at it. So I found a pretty good procedure for sanding the clear coat. I first start off with a 1500 or 1000 grit on the GA with no backup pad, so it's flat, hard, and just kind of skim over it and get the rough orange peel and any imperfections out of the finish. And then I'll go back over and use the black powder to sand with 1000 grit and wet, and you'd think it would wipe off, but it doesn't really. It only comes off the tops of the clear coat that you sand, and you can see imperfections like this. Is still needs to be sanded, and there's a little bit of a low spot, and so it gets it nice and flat. And then I'll go back over it with the orbital again with 1000, just to get any with the guide coat, just to make sure I get any of the 1000 scratches all out, because it's kind of, this is a hard block, and I got self-adhesive 1000 grit, which is kind of cool. I think it's fairly new in the last few years. So it won't, you know, you don't have to hold it with your hand to hold the paper tight. This gets it nice and tight to the block, so the paper doesn't kind of follow the imperfections in the clear, and it shaves that top layer off nice and smooth. And then you can guide it. You know, you get it wet with water and soap. You see I just wiped it down, but that exposes any low spots or any ripples that you still need to work on. And then once I get it to this point, I found, you know, most people are doing 1500 all the way 3000 by hand, or some people are doing, you know, I don't know, everybody's got so many different ways of doing it. And this isn't perfect, but I think it's a balance between how much time it takes versus the quality of the job. So I'm kind of happy with how it's coming out. So, but it does take a lot of time, and it's a lot of work. Well, it's the middle of May now, and the last piece of the Mustang is done. I didn't do many videos because it was just a lot of painting, clear coat, finding issues, resanding, re-clearing. So the owner's already taken all the parts except this door. It was the last piece I had to redo. I did this one many times. Still not perfect, but I think it's as good as it's going to get. And what I found out is the more you mess with things, the worse it gets, and the more difficult it is to finish. So I think we're done. And then it's going to be on to something else now.